Welcome to the channel. It's February and the weatherman did say sunny spells and a temperature of 10 to 11 degrees. And I think he was definitely fibbing. It was colder, it was damp, there was a wet mist we were riding through as we set off, in the hopes that sooner or later the sun would come out. We were testing the new sat-nav and one of the routes I'd created, the Helmsley Loop. And we're just bypassing Stokesley at the start of the route. And the weather was not improving, and she, that must be a bird, was letting me know through the earpiece that it was cold. She kept misting up, so I think we needed to get her a pin lock insert. It was an oversight when we bought a helmet that we forgot to get the insert, or rather I forgot to get the insert because she didn't know it existed. But we set out on a cold, misty, somewhat wet day. And as you can see, it got worse. But it's a bit the bright sky behind us, even though we were heading into mist. But soon, a little bit brighter, but not any warmer. There was a number of firsts for Karen on this trip. This was the first time we'd left the tarmac with her on the back of the bike. But I'd been trying some ear plugs, ear defenders, the little foam insert ones, and they did a cracking job of blocking out the wind noise, but they were blocking everything out, and I was finding it difficult to hear. That must be a bird's instructions, or the bike, to be honest. They were just blocking too much sound. I'd had enough and it was time to take them out. Taking them out? I'm deaf. Well, I've been deaf. Well, that's my point. Don't get me wrong, I mean they've hammered the wind noise, that's gone. Yeah? Yeah. And this is another first. We're about to go through a ford. It's the first of 3 fords on this trip. And we're in. Now we just have to get up this hill on quite a slippy road, with it being wet and there was mud on the road and bits of leaves, and that was the theme for most of the ride, wet muddy roads. But it was nice being back out on the bike. that's out of one valley, dropping down into the next. And at the bottom of this valley is our second ford of the trip. Although I'm riding on the stock tyres that came with my Himalayan, I've got to say I've not found them to be an issue. But I'm comparing them with tyres the last time I rode 30 years ago. The second ford, and it was dry. And there's a bridge to nowhere. Yeah, I've not had any issues with the tyres. But we'll see when I change them. I'll probably go for something else. Nor have I had any issues with the brakes. Before I bought the bike, people were warning me about the tyres not being very good, the brakes not being very good. I've not had any issues. And maybe they're not as good as modern bikes. But I'm comparing this ride to my old Honda Super Dream from 33 years ago. Oh, is the sun starting to peek through? Oh, it's tempting to believe it is, but it isn't. Wind noise on the camera, sorry about that. I do like the 360 camera. It means I only have to mount one camera to the bike and I can point it anywhere I like. I'm experimenting with some clear plastic domes, lens protectors. We found snow, as you can see. This road is taking us up to Blakey Ridge. And up here there was still snow. Even though it's cold, it was a nice ride out. It was nice to get back out on the bike. And again, I've got to say, this year, even though it's been sat for a month or so in the shed, I don't have it on a battery maintainer, and I've not had any issues with it starting. In fact, I've not had any issues with this bike since I bought it last May. And at this point I was asking Karen if she wanted to head back home because it was cold or continue. And she decided we'd continue. And the weather continued to be misty and cold. Almost pulled into the pub as we passed, but we decided we'd press on to Rievaulx Abbey and have a hot beverage there. So we rode across the top of the moor until we dropped down Hutton Le Hole, where we turned off just after. Now this was a little track that led us to the third ford of the day. However, it was in flood and it was pretty deep and flowing fast, so we decided the wise thing to do was turn round and go back. And again, this is another first for Karen on a gravel track, well, more of a dirt track. The image stabilisation on the camera is not showing you just how bumpy this track was. I'll turn the camera around so you can see that must be a bird and how much he bounces. I've got to say the bike did well on this bumpy track with 2 up. We got out in one piece. What? Because of the fort. So we decided that we would head straight for Helmsley. There was a cup of tea calling Karen and a coffee calling me. We discussed whether or not we would drop off in Helmsley here and get something here, but we decided to go to the Abbey. There's a quick look at the Market Square in Helmsley. There's plenty of pubs if you want, and cafes if you want to stop, they're here. This little red car in front is looking for the car park, I think. Because it was doddering along this road. Yeah, the main car park in Helmsley is just to the left up ahead. There, just on the left, and there's a nice little cafe and ice cream parlour up there as well. But it's paint display in Helmsley, and I can park for free at Revo. So we climb up the hill out of Helmsley and we join the road to Teesside. But we're not going to be on this road for long. Shortly after we get to the top of the hill, we peel off left to drop back down into the valley towards Revo Abbey. And still these bright sunny spells that we'd been promised never showed up. And I think at this point we were both looking forward to a short comfort break. I can't remember what she was explaining to me, but she was busy explaining something. If you ever visit this neck of the woods and you fancy a walk, there's a walk from Revo Abbey through these woods on the left, past the disused quarry, where they got the stone for Revo from, and it leads through to the car park at Helmsley Castle, and it's about 3 miles each way. In fact, the footpath is just coming up on the left, peels off through the woods here on the left. Our route would take us across this bridge and through Old Byland and Hornby and onto Osmotherley. However, the day had something else planned, so we didn't do that part of the route. In the distance you can see the remains of Revo Abbey poking through the mist. Somebody sat in front of a warm fire in that cottage. And there's the remains of Revo, the Abbey ruins. And the car park, with complimentary potholes. Now technically this is a pay and display car park, but if you're English Heritage members it's free, and if you buy tickets to go in the Abbey they refund your parking. Isn't it strange? If you pull into a car park and there's 1 or 2 spaces, you jump into the first one you come to. But when the car park's nearly empty, you get picky. Notice the grace in which she, that must be a bird, does the stiff-legged get off the bike routine. Car behind you. And you get a quick look at the new seat cushion I've been trying out. So this is where the trip will come to an end for this video anyway. We went in, got a hot drink, tea for Karen and coffee for myself. But while she was talking to the staff at the reception desk, I'd put the order in for the teas and coffees, and she said, "Do you want anything else?" And I went, "Yes, I'll have a piece of fruit loaf." And it came with a nice piece of cheese as well. And when Karen saw it, she decided she would have one as well. So we sat in the cafe at Revo, enjoyed a hot drink, warmed through, nice piece of fruit cake and cheese. And by the time we left, it was starting to get a bit darker, it was a bit colder, and the sky was threatening. So we abandoned the rest of the trip over the moors towards Osmotherley and just got straight back on the road to Teesside, the Stokesley Helmsley road, and we just headed straight back. And I'm glad we did, because as we dropped down into Teesside towards Stokesley, it was just foggy. It was very misty and very cold. We were both glad to get home and get in the warm. But a nice ride out. First one of the year. We'll need to plan a few more, because I have to test this seat cushion for longer trips to stop the numb bum, and it seems to be working. And if it's a success, I'll do a little video, because they were only cheap. It was about £11 off Amazon. I've upgraded the one at the rear for Karen. I got rid of that one for Karen, and I got a different one, a smaller one that seems to fit the bike better. But that's for another video. Anyway, thanks for watching. Ride safe, be safe, enjoy life. Ta-ra.